My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of Final Destination 5. And this review will have spoilers, so there's your warning. But let's begin by talking about the cast. And this franchise doesn't have any great performances. Everybody typically does a perfectly fine job. Everybody is serviceable, and this movie is no exception. So, Nicholas D'Augusto carries this movie well enough. Emma Bell does a perfectly fine job. Miles Fisher, he looks so much like Dave Franco, but it's not him, and I thought he did a perfectly fine job. David Krishna does make me laugh here because he thinks he is so important whenever he talks to the police, and it's a funny gag, but he does a perfectly fine job. Courtney B. Vance does a perfectly fine job. Tony Todd is barely in these movies, but he's just got one of those voices. Well, he does bring some dramatic weight to what's going on. Jack Jack Quallen, Melanie's Wood does a fine job. PJ Bones, I am a big fan of Babylon, and I thought he did a great job in that movie. And here he does a perfectly fine job. Alden Escapita and Ellen Wu both give perfectly fine performances. It's what you would expect from this franchise. But that's not why we watch these movies. No, we watch these movies to watch people die for the big thrilling set piece, and this movie fully delivers. I thought the bridge scene was just very exciting and very tense, and I loved how you see so many different people get killed in different ways. I love when Olivia falls off the bridge, but she's actually safe, and then a car comes and squish her. It's actually a pretty funny moment. I like how David Krishna's character kind of melts away. I like how some people get sliced by the cables. I like how PJ Bones is stuck in the bus as it falls into the water. There are some great moments there. The gymnastics scene is so good and so effective. Like, as soon as that screw falls on the bench, I am just on edge, and you're waiting to see if the girl stands on it, and it doesn't happen, so you get this false sense of security, but it still comes into play, and things escalate, and she falls and breaks her neck, and it is such a brutal moment. And I love the way this scene just keeps you on edge. The acupuncture scene I think is really great as well because I've thought about getting acupuncture so many times, and that scene where he falls off the table onto the needles and like he pulls one all out and it's just so long and it's just so buried inside him. Oh man, like that scene just gets to me. It really does. And I love how you think he's going to be safe and then his head gets squished by that statue. Just a really brutal, effective moment. But my favorite scene is the laser eye surgery. I don't know if you know this, but I've got glasses. I've had these almost my entire life, and I've thought about getting laser eye surgery, and I don't think I ever could just because of this movie. Like, this entire scene is horrific. It might actually be the best death of this franchise because, like, he puts the thing to keep her eyes open, and then she's left alone, and she's so helpless, and then the way the laser slices through her eyes, oh man, this scene just affects me on a whole other level. Like, eye stuff, just, oh my goodness. The one guy who falls onto the crane is kind of a whatever death here. One of my favorite moments is actually the scene where the main dude is just walking through the kitchen and he's watching people slice meat and deep fry and are walking around with sharp objects and nothing happens, but you just realize how death can be all around you and it can create some paranoia. And like the climax is fine, but it's nothing too special. So there are some truly great all-timer moments here. I do wish we got a couple more, to be honest, but I was still content with what we got. And I like some of the rules here. Like how if death has marked you, you can kill someone to get out of it. It's a neat evolution of this franchise and it makes this climax feel fresh and new. And the ending to this movie is great. Like, oh, they keep talking about Paris the entire movie and him accepting this apprenticeship, and he's finally ready to move on with his life. And surprise, this movie's actually a prequel, and he's on the plane at the very beginning of this franchise. Just catches you off guard, and if he just died, it would have felt like a generic ending, but because it ties back into the first movie, it just allows it to really stand out. So, I do love so much of this movie, but I think some of the character drama is just kinda blah. I wasn't too invested in the relationships and what was going on emotionally. Just like the Final Destination, I don't like some of the 3D effects and the bad CGI here. It's not as aggressive, but it can still be distracting. And I don't like how this movie kind of cheats its rules. Like, first of all, the bridge scene is like a few minutes long, but then when the bridge actually collapses, it happens just like that, and it kind of takes me out of it. The ending of this movie, the main dude killed not Dave Franco, so he should have been cleared, but I guess not. And then the one guy accidentally kills the other dude, but it turns out he would have suffered from a brain aneurysm any day, so his kill doesn't count now. It's like they introduce these cool new rules and then they backtrack. And I didn't mention this in my Final Destination 3 review, but it kind of reminds me of that movie because the creepy dude with the video camera gets off the roller coaster, but the crash was caused by him dropping his camera. So it doesn't really make sense, and I felt that same way here at points. But it's not too big of an issue. I watch these movies for the set pieces, and this movie fully delivers. There are some truly excellent, horrific, intense moments here, and that's what allows this movie to stand out. And with that ending as well, this is probably my favorite of the franchise at this point. So I'm giving Final Destination 5 a 7.5 out of 10. The Final Destination or Final Destination 5 is my favorite. I can't quite pick now, but Both are very solid. But what are your thoughts on Final Destination 5? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for more videos soon. And Gavin,